The grand chamber of the Galactic Council stretched 3 kilometers in diameter, its crystalline walls refracting the light of 1,000 distant stars. Ambassador Zex, Vac of the Vormian Collective, clicked his mandibles in satisfaction as he surveyed the assembled delegates. 700 species, representing 92,000 colonized worlds, all gathered for this moment. All gathered to finally deal with the human problem. "The motion is called to order," Zexthak announced, his translator converting his chittering speech into the common galactic tongue. "We convene to discuss Resolution 8847 HA, the formal limitation of human expansion and military capability." A murmur of approval rippled through the chamber. The humans had been a concern since their admission to the Council 43 cycles ago. They bred too quickly, expanded too aggressively, and worst of all, they refused to accept their proper place in the galactic hierarchy. High Arbiter Velshara, a crystalline whose body caught and scattered light in mesmerizing patterns, raised one translucent appendage. The floor recognizes the delegation from the Terran systems. Ambassador Chen Wei stood slowly, her dark eyes scanning the vast assembly. She was small compared to most species-present humans usually were, but she carried herself with an unsettling confidence that made Zexthak's sensory hairs prickle with unease. "Honorable delegates," Chen began, her voice steady, "we respectfully oppose this resolution. Humanity has followed every guideline, every regulation set forth by this council. We've limited our colonization to approved sectors, restricted our military to defensive operations, and contributed our fair share and more to council operations." "Exactly the problem," boomed Korthok, the Thurian military commander whose species had held the position of council enforcer for 2,000 years. His massive form, all armored plates and rippling muscle, seemed to fill his section of the chamber. "You contribute too much. You colonize too efficiently. You reproduce at rates that would make a plague virus envious. In less than 50 years, humans will outnumber the next 3 largest species combined." Chen smiled, and Zexthak found the expression deeply unsettling. Human facial expressions were notoriously difficult to read accurately. "So we're being punished for success?" she asked. "You're being regulated for the good of galactic stability," Zexthak interjected. "The resolution is reasonable. A 50% reduction in your military fleet, a moratorium on new colony establishment for 20 cycles, and the placement of council oversight officers on all major human worlds. Surely you can see the necessity." "What I see," Chen replied, her smile never wavering, "is an attempt to hobble humanity because you're afraid we'll upset your comfortable status quo. You've divided the galaxy into neat little hierarchies: warrior species, merchant species, worker species, academic species. You can't comprehend a species that refuses to be categorized, that excels at everything it attempts." "Arrogance," hissed Silar of the Serpentine Commonwealth. "This is precisely why humans must be controlled. You lack the wisdom to know your place." "Our place," Chen said softly, "is wherever we choose to stand." The vote was called. Out of 700 delegates, 647 voted in favor of the resolution. Only humanity and a handful of minor species opposed it. The resolution passes by overwhelming majority, Baal-Shara announced. The Terran systems will comply within 6 standard cycles. This session is adjourned. Chen gathered her materials slowly, deliberately. As the other delegates began to file out, congratulating each other on finally putting the upstart humans in their place, she caught Zek-Thak's eye. "You've made a terrible mistake," she said. "Is that a threat?" he demanded, his mandibles clicking aggressively. "No," Chen replied, her smile returning. "It's a prophecy." 6 cycles passed. The Galactic Council waited for humanity's compliance reports. They never came. Instead, on the morning of the 7th cycle, every human world went silent. Not dead silent. All communications with Council Central ceased. Human ships recalled to their home systems. Human trade convoys disappeared from the space lanes. Human ambassadors evacuated from every Council world. It was as if humanity had simply vanished behind an impenetrable curtain. What is the meaning of this? Zek-Thak demanded at the emergency council session. This is an act of rebellion. Perhaps they're preparing to comply, suggested Melthar of the Grisidian Union, though even he sounded doubtful. For 6 cycles without a word? No. Korthak's voice was grim. They're preparing for something else. I recommend we send the enforcement fleet to the Terran home system. Make them understand there are consequences for defying Council mandates. The motion passed unanimously. 3 weeks later, the enforcement fleet, 1,200 warships representing the combined military might of the Council's most powerful species, arrived at the edge of the Sol system. What they found made seasoned commanders question their sensory organs. The system was transformed. Where there had been perhaps 200 human vessels during the last Council inspection, there were now thousands. And not just ships, the asteroid belt had been converted into a massive manufacturing complex. Dozens of moons sported military installations. Mars gleamed with new cities and orbital platforms bristling with weapons. And Earth. Earth was wrapped in a defensive grid so dense it looked like a metallic cocoon. "This is impossible," breathed Fleet Admiral Kekstar, staring at the tactical displays. "This level of construction would take centuries." "They've had less than a year since the resolution passed." His tactical officer, a young Vormian named Tikval, pulled up comparative data. "Sir, according to our intelligence, only 3% of the human industrial capacity was ever dedicated to Council trade. The other 97%. We never knew what they were doing with it." "Now we know," Kekstar said grimly. "They were preparing. For years. Decades, maybe. They knew this day would come." A communication channel opened. Chen Wei's face appeared on the main screen, but she wasn't alone. Surrounding her were dozens of other humans, military officers by their bearing and insignia. "Admiral Kekstar," Chen said pleasantly. "Welcome to Sol. I'm afraid we're not accepting visitors at the moment." "Ambassador Chen, you will stand down immediately and prepare to accept Council occupation forces. Your government is in violation of—" "My government," Chen interrupted, "has withdrawn from the Galactic Council. As of 7 cycles ago, the Terran systems are no longer bound by Council law, Council resolutions, or Council authority. Stunned silence filled the flagship's bridge. You can't secede from the Council, Kextar finally managed. The Council is universal. It governs all spacefaring species by ancient compact. A compact humanity never agreed to, Chen replied. When we joined 43 cycles ago, we did so voluntarily. The Council Charter, which I've read extensively, unlike most of you, explicitly allows for voluntary withdrawal. Article 47, Section 12, Paragraph 8. Would you like me to quote it? The Charter was written 12,000 years ago. Zexthak's voice crackled over the command channel. That clause was meant for primitive species who didn't understand what they were joining. It's never been invoked. Until now, Chen said. But let's be honest, Counselor. You didn't send 1,200 warships here to discuss legal technicalities. You came to force compliance. You came to remind humanity of its place. Her expression hardened. Allow me to return the favor. The tactical displays erupted with new contacts. Hundreds of previously stealthed human ships decloaked throughout the system. They'd been there all along, waiting. You're outnumbered 3-1, Admiral. Chen continued. Your ships are fine vessels for maintaining order against minor threats and pirates. But they weren't built for pure warfare. Ours were. Every ship in this system was designed with one purpose: to fight a technologically equivalent or superior foe. We've spent 30 years preparing for this confrontation. 30 years? Kextar whispered. But you only joined the Council 43 cycles ago. You were preparing for war less than 15 years after joining us. Chen's smile was sad. We were preparing the moment we understood what the Council really was. You see, Admiral, humans have a saying, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Our own history is littered with empires that claimed to bring order and civilization while actually enforcing subjugation. We recognize the pattern. We brought you technology. Zexthak's voice rose with indignation. Medicine, culture. We uplifted you from a single system species. You shared obsolete technology and called it generous, Chen countered. Your gifts kept us dependent while ensuring we could never match your capabilities. Or so you thought. What you didn't realize is that humans have one trait you've never developed: adaptability. You gave us your technology, and we didn't just use it, we understood it, improved it, and then leapfrogged it entirely. She gestured, and technical schematics appeared on the shared channel. Your ships use Thorian-class reactors that produce 1.7 petawatts per cubic meter. Impressive. We produce 4.3 petawatts from the same volume using a hybrid design that combines your technology with principles you never explored because you were too busy maintaining your carefully ordered hierarchy. Your ships utilize graviton pulse weapons with an effective range of 200,000 kilometers. Ours reach 450,000 kilometers with twice the penetration power. Your shields operate on a rotating harmonic frequency that took your best scientists 3 centuries to develop. We cracked it in 8 years and designed a counter system. Kextar stared at the data. Every claim was verifiable from their own sensor readings. Somehow, impossibly, humanity had surpassed Council technology across virtually every metric. How? he asked simply. We cheated, Chen admitted freely. Or rather, we refused to play by your rules. Council species tend to specialize. Warriors focus on warfare, merchants on trade, academics on research. You're efficient, but you're rigid. Humans, we're generalists. We had soldiers who studied poetry, engineers who painted, merchants who wrote philosophy. We approached every problem from a dozen different angles simultaneously. We borrowed ideas from every council species we encountered and synthesized them into something new. And we never stopped being paranoid, added one of the officers beside her, a scarred man with gray at his temples. I'm General Marcus Zhang, head of Terran Defense Command. The council outmassed us by millions to one. We knew that if you ever saw us as a threat, you'd crush us. So we prepared. Every human world has been fortified. Every colony has hidden shipyards. Every merchant vessel has a military retrofit protocol. We built an empire inside your empire, and you never noticed because you were too busy congratulating yourselves on keeping us in our place. This is madness. Korthok's voice boomed over the channel. Your 7,000 systems spread across the galaxy. The council comprises 92,000 worlds. Even if your technology is superior, you're outnumbered 13 to 1. You cannot win an extended war. You're absolutely right, Chen agreed. Which is why we're not going to fight one. The human fleet began moving, not toward the council ships, but into new formations around the system's periphery. Thousands of ships coordinated with inhuman precision. We're not going to conquer the council, Chen explained. We're not going to occupy your worlds or impose our government on your people. We're simply going to be left alone. Humanity is withdrawing from galactic civilization. We're going to develop our own worlds, pursue our own destiny, and have no further interaction with the Council. You can't isolate 7,000 systems, Zixthak protested. You're spread throughout Council space. Actually, we can. General Zhang pulled up a stellar map. You see, when the Council generously allowed us to colonize new worlds, you scattered us. A world here, a cluster there, never giving us any concentrated power. Or so you thought. What you didn't realize is that every world you assigned us had something in common. They were all connected by what we call the human chain. The map highlighted a network of jump points that connected human worlds in a vast web-like structure that threaded through Council space. But more than that, it showed something else: natural choke points, where a few systems could control access to hundreds of others. We didn't just colonize the world you gave us, Zhang continued. We colonized the space between them. Small stations, hidden outposts, automated defense platforms built in systems you considered worthless because they had no habitable planets. Over 30 years, we've created our own network, our own infrastructure. And now, we're closing it off. As he spoke, human ships moved to dozens of highlighted systems. They weren't attacking. They were establishing blockades at key jump points. Any Council ship attempting to pass through these systems will be turned back, Chen stated. Not destroyed, turned back. We're not starting a war, Admiral. We're ending our membership in your civilization. Kextar felt a chill run through his carapace. The strategic implications were staggering. If humanity closed off those systems, they wouldn't just isolate themselves, they'd fragment council space. Dozens of regions would be cut off from each other, accessible only by roundabout routes that would take weeks or months instead of days. "You'd cripple galactic commerce," he said. "We'd restore autonomy," Chen corrected. "The council has grown too large, too centralized. Maybe breaking it into smaller, regional associations would be healthier. Maybe species would start governing themselves instead of waiting for council decrees. Maybe the galaxy would be better off with a little less order and a little more freedom." "This is blackmail," Zack hissed. "No," Chen replied firmly. "Blackmail would be demanding concessions in exchange for not disrupting your systems. We're not demanding anything except to be left alone. You can try to force your way through our blockades, but I promise you'll lose ships. Probably a lot of them. And for what? To punish us for leaving your club? To force us to accept limitations we never deserved." She leaned forward, her gaze intense. "Let me tell you something about humans, Counselor. We're tribal by nature. We form groups, families, communities, nations, and we defend them fiercely. For 43 cycles, some of us tried to think of the council as our tribe. We followed your rules, respected your traditions, contributed to your society. And how did you repay us? You voted to cripple us because we were too successful. Because we didn't fit your neat categories. Because we scared you. So fine. You're scared of us? We'll leave. But understand this, you don't get to control us, and you don't get to destroy us. We're taking our 7,000 systems, our technology, and our people, and we're building our own future. Without you." The silence that followed was absolute. Every species on the command channels was processing the same reality. Humanity had just redrawn the galactic map, and there was nothing the council could do about it without starting a war they might not win. Finally, High Arbiter Velshara's crystalline form appeared on the channel. "This is unprecedented," she said, her voice carrying the weight of centuries. "The council must deliberate. Admiral Kextar, withdraw the enforcement fleet to the Epsilon station. Ambassador Chen, will humanity agree to a diplomatic conference to discuss the terms of this? Separation?" Chen glanced at her fellow officers, and something passed between them, a very human moment of silent communication that no translator could capture. "We'll agree to a conference," Chen said finally, "but not about terms. There are no negotiations here. We're simply informing you of the new reality. However, we're willing to discuss practical matters, trade routes that need rerouting, populations that want to relocate, transition procedures for shared facilities. We're not trying to create chaos. We just want out." "Very well," Velshara said. "In one cycle, at Neutral Vega Station. This session is concluded." The channels closed. Admiral Kextar slumped in his command chair, suddenly feeling every one of his 80 years. "Sir," his tactical officer ventured carefully. "What do we do?" "We follow orders and withdraw," Kextar replied. "And we thank whatever gods we believe in that the humans are feeling merciful." The conference at Vega Station lasted 3 cycles. In the end, the council had no choice but to accept reality. The human systems would be recognized as an independent polity. The blockade would remain, but with agreed-upon procedures for emergency travel and humanitarian cases. Trade would continue on a limited basis, strictly regulated by human authorities. It wasn't what the council wanted, but it was better than war. As the final documents were signed, Zixthak found himself alone with Chen in one of the station's observation lounges. Earth's sun was visible in the distance, a yellow star among millions. "I don't understand," he admitted finally. "You could have destroyed the enforcement fleet. With your technological advantage, you might have even won a larger war. Why didn't you attack? Why just leave?" Chen was quiet for a long moment, watching the stars. "Because we've been you," she said finally. "In our own history, we had empires, counselor, powerful ones. Rome, Persia, Britain, America, China, they all thought they were bringing order to chaos. And maybe they did, for a time. But they also crushed peoples and cultures that didn't fit their vision. They created resentment that burned for generations." She turned to face him. "We didn't want to become another empire. We didn't want to rule the galaxy or reshape it in our image. We just wanted the freedom to be ourselves, to grow in our own way, to make our own mistakes, and achieve our own triumphs." "The council could have given you that freedom," Zixthak argued. "We could have worked together." "No," Chen said sadly. "The council is built on hierarchy. Someone has to be on top, someone on the bottom, everyone in their assigned place. Humanity doesn't work that way. We're too chaotic, too diverse, too stubborn. We would have eventually torn your system apart from within, or you would have crushed us, trying to make us conform. This way, everyone survives." "And if we need you?" Zixthak asked. "There are threats in this galaxy, the devourers in the outer rim, the sentient plague in the core regions. What if the council needs humanity's military might?" Chen smiled, but there was warmth in it this time. Then asked nicely, "We're leaving the council, not abandoning civilization. If there's a threat to all species, humanity will stand with the galaxy. But as equals, not as subordinates. As partners, not as subjects." She extended her hand, a human gesture of agreement. Zixthak studied it for a moment, then carefully clasped it with his primary manipulator. "I fear we've made enemies today," he said. "No," Chen replied. "You've made neighbors. There's a difference. Neighbors have boundaries, but they also help each other when needed. Maybe that's what the galaxy needs, more of good fences and good neighbors." 50 cycles passed. The human systems thrived in isolation, their technology advancing at a rate that terrified council observers. But true to Chen's word, they remained behind their borders, neither threatening nor engaging with council affairs. The council, meanwhile, fractured not violently, but naturally. With the human chain disrupting the old order, regional associations formed. Species that had been neighbors, but never had real contact, began cooperating directly. Innovation flourished. Some council species even petitioned to join the human systems, admiring their freedom and dynamism. And when the Devourer fleets finally came, emerging from the galactic rim in numbers that dwarfed even the Council's worst nightmares, it was humanity that answered the call for help. Not because they had to. Not because of treaties or obligations, but because it was the right thing to do. Admiral Chen Wei, granddaughter of the ambassador, who defied the Council, commanded the human defense fleet that reinforced the Council lines at the Battle of Carina's Edge. Together, human innovation and Council resources turned back the invasion. In the aftermath, as the survivors regrouped, High Arbiter Telvax, Velshara's successor, found himself on a human dreadnought, sharing drinks with Admiral Chen. "I've read the historical records," Telvax said, his crystalline structure glowing with the reflection of Earth's sun visible through the viewport. "My predecessor tried to control your people. She failed. She tried to cage us," Chen agreed. "But in doing so, she freed us. Funny how that works. Would you ever consider rejoining the Council?" Telvax asked. "As full equals, with no restrictions. We've learned from our mistakes." Chen was quiet for a time, considering. "Maybe," she said finally. "In a few centuries, when both our civilizations have grown enough to meet as true peers. When the Council stops thinking in terms of control and starts thinking in terms of cooperation. When you understand that strength isn't about dominating others, it's about standing together without losing yourself." She raised her glass. "Until then, to good fences and better neighbors." Telvax raised his own glass, the liquid inside refracting through his crystalline form in patterns of light. "To good fences and better neighbors," he echoed. And across the galaxy, two civilizations, one vast and ancient, one young and explosive, continued their separate journeys, occasionally intersecting, sometimes conflicting, but always aware of each other. The Council had thought they could control humans. They were wrong. But in being wrong, both civilizations had learned something more valuable than control: respect. And perhaps that had been humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy all along, the reminder that freedom, not order, was the foundation of true strength.